Brews&Boxing, episode 11. 1 week off our super show. Filthy Rich, good to see you as always. Judge Jimmy James, good to see you. With me as always, let's introduce first the one, the only, the man in the tie, Filthy Rich. Filthy Rich, how you doing?
Good over here. What's going on?
Not too bad, not too bad. And of course, the returning champion, 2-week champion of the Filthy Five, Judge Jimmy James. Judge Jimmy James, how you doing?
Good. I'm doing good, fellas.
All right. Hey, I had a great time with you on that 10th anniversary show. If you guys haven't watched it, you need to go and watch that, especially when you watch Judge Jimmy James get all angry when you talk about Terrence Crawford, which he might get angry again today because Terrence Crawford is in the news today. But we'll get to that in Brews and News. You guys ready to start?
Let's ring that bell.
All right, here we go. All right, Brews and News. First thing we got to do in Brews and News, because the name of the show is Brews and News, is we got to crack a brew. So, gentlemen, I got myself a can this week, so I know it's going to come up.
Oh, my goodness.
Cheers. And that's not even a brew, Judge.
This is a 11th round brew.
Oh, man. Going back to the unanimous decision days, Judge Jimmy James with his...
Hey, man, you got to switch it up every once in a while. Keeping it fresh.
All right, the first thing we want to talk about today, guys, Judge Jimmy James, you brought this up. Fights are coming back, and they'll be back before our next show, which is incredible. They start on June 9th, and Shakur Stevenson is fighting Felix Caraballo, who we looked up and don't know anything about him, probably because he's ham and egger, I guess, is what we would call him. What Bobby the Brain Heenan would call him was a ham and egger. First off, are you excited to have boxing back, James? And second off, are you excited for this fight?
I am excited for any fight right now. I want to watch boxing live bad. It has been too long. We have missed too many big fights so far. We should have been so much further into the boxing season. It's just, I've got, as Rich would say, you got the itch. You just need more of it. I'm excited as hell for this. I really want it to come back. The fight probably doesn't excite me too much, but live boxing is what I'm excited for. 100%.
Damn right. I mean, it's hard to do a boxing show every week when we don't have a new boxing match to talk about. You know, I think our show would have been even better if we had boxing to watch and talk about each week. We're probably going to have to add a segment of, hey, did you watch that last week? That'd be a great segment. Filthy Rich, you excited? I know you're excited for boxing coming back, but are you excited for Shakur Stevenson versus Felix Caraballo?
Right. Yeah, I want to be excited. I'm not excited about an empty arena. However, it seemed to have worked with the UFC from what the ratings and analysts have said. So we'll give this a shot, but let me tell you, there is nothing quite like watching Triple G walk to the ring with fans screaming.
Including us.
Right. Like, I want to hear the fans scream. The atmosphere, you can't make that stuff up. You can't just computer generate that. We'll see how everything goes. As far as this fight goes, yeah, I don't know if this guy's an Uber driver or what he does for a living. If he's a first tier worker, I don't know what's going on. This is going to be an easy fight for Shakur Stevenson. Couple girls are fighting on the undercard. That might make for the better fight, to be honest with you. But give me something at this point so we can move on to this brand new segment debuting whenever it debuts. Who knows? But yeah, I tend to be excited not only for boxing but for this show, our show.
Right. You know, it's I equate this fight to preseason football. It's like, man, you've missed it for so long. It's not going to be entertaining as a real fight is, but it's going to be, you got to watch it just because you missed it for so long. So, I mean, Shakur Stevenson probably wins that, in 3 rounds, maybe 4, probably. I mean, but that doesn't really matter. Is it on ESPN Plus? Do you guys know? Is that what it's going to be on, or is it?
It's regular ESPN on Tuesday night.
Yeah,
we record Wednesday, so we may be able to be talking about it next week.
Yeah. James, fire up that smoker for us, would you? We'll watch that stuff. Yeah, us and the bailiff.
Yeah.
As the bailiff threw my back out last week. But all right. Well, I'm excited about that. Let's move on to the next piece of news. A little better fights we're talking about coming up in the future. We'll call this regular season football or regular season boxing. Judge Jimmy James, you were talking about it the most last week with Chocolatito. Chocolatito is going to fight Estrada in a rematch booked for late this summer. I think it's going to be August. but they just said late summer. I heard August, but I don't know if I can't confirm that. I just remember reading that. How excited are you for that one, and who do you got in it?
It's early fall, and I am very excited for that fight. They need a rematch. It's been 8 years since they last fought, and Estrada took the loss in that one. But he's out for blood, and obviously Chocolatito had that little hiccup against Sarungasai for two fights, and he didn't look like the same fighter. But Chocolatito's last fight, he looked pretty dang sharp. And I am pretty excited for this fight. This is going to be a fight that's going to be nonstop action, because these guys just have no quit and pure grit. It's going to be a fight that you're going to want to set aside some time for. You guys we'll have to watch it somehow.
It's good to see Chocolatito back after suffering a couple losses and seeming like his career was over at some point. Now he's back. Maybe not the Chocolatito of old, but definitely better and more exciting, and probably going to get some more big fights. Do we know what that's going to be on? Are they ESPN fighters?
As far as I know, it's too far out. I don't know what it's going to be on. Maybe Rich can speak to that a little bit better than I can.
Rich, do you know if are they Bob Arum guys or?
No, I think they're going to be on DAZN. That's just my opinion. I don't know. I can't remember the last time I saw a Chocolatito fight, but my guess is DAZN is signing all these guys, and if he's part of that little drama show and that's where Golovkin is, my guess is going to be on DAZN.
Right on. Well, what do you think, Richie, about Estrada Chocolatito rematch? Who do you like in that fight, and are you looking forward to that fight?
I'm not really big into rematches when the right guy wins. We look at like Kovalev and Ward. I thought Kovalev won that fight, so that was exciting for me to see a rematch. Golovkin-Canelo, I thought Golovkin won that fight, so seeing a rematch is pretty exciting. But when a guy goes out there and basically dominates his opponent, and then there's a rematch, there's nothing to be talked about. Look at Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. I thought Tyson Fury won, and to have a rematch, of course, we knew what was going to happen. He was just going to go out there and dominate Wilder, and now they're going to have a third fight, which makes no sense. But Chocolatito has a resurgence going on right now. That I'm excited about, because I think I wrote him off a few weeks ago, and I think I may be wrong. I think Chocolatito should not have moved up that weight class to fight Sarungasai, but that's what fighters do. They are fighters. They can take advice from their advisors, but at the end of the day, they need to go out there and make their money. Again, as far as this fight goes, I think Chocolatito wins. I am excited on the surface just because this is one of the bigger fights that I feel is in stone, that this will actually happen. I saw today a big heavyweight fight, Dillian White and Alex Povetkin got canceled. So until Chocolatito and Estrada gets canceled, I want to stay excited for this, and I doubt that they will have that fight canceled.
Real quick, why is White and Povetkin canceled?
I don't know. It was breaking news minutes ago. Yeah, we shoot live. I didn't tell these guys what was going on, but yeah, that fight got canceled, not postponed. What I saw was canceled. Matchroom canceled that fight. Maybe people are failing drug tests again. I don't know. I didn't read anything on it. I took the lazy route, read the headline, moved on with my life. But I'm sure we will talk about that another time. You stay tuned. Maybe episode 12, huh?
Probably be news for next week for sure. Because Dillian White, he was high on both our lists when we did that. That's when I was still doing the Filthy Five. I had him at 3.
Jimmy James, we might have to reevaluate our heavyweight list.
Yeah, we might have to redo those lists now that I'm not doing them anymore.
Maybe, you're undefeated, you son of a
undefeated. No! You guys can win the belt back and forth all you want, but neither of you will retire undefeated as I did.
Okay, Mayweather.
All right, the final thing I want to talk about. Sugar Ray Leonard says that Spence and Crawford need to fight immediately. Is a big name like Sugar Ray Leonard coming out and calling both them out going to get the wheels in motion here, Rich, or is it just going to be hot air and they're going to continuously dodge each other?
Yeah, I don't think Ray Leonard's saying anything we don't already know. He mentioned something about lifting up the welterweight division. Let me tell you, the welterweight division is on fire right now. Manny Pacquiao moving from Arum over to the PBC with Al Heyman. He wanted more fights, and that's where all the welterweights are. The welterweight division's already on fire. I don't know if just having Crawford and Spence go at it is a big deal. I think Errol Spence has a lot of other fights he can take, and Crawford just has to be patient, and us, the fans, just have to be patient. We waited 5 years for Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather. We can wait a couple years for this fight. There's plenty of other bodies to come.
Right on. What do you think, James? Spence and Crawford, without getting too heated about us ripping that Spence wins that fight in 3 rounds. Are you excited to see that fight? Do you think this is going to get this fight in motion, or do you think they're going to continuously dodge each other and fight the guys like Amir Khan?
Of course. Look, I would be excited for either of these fights, Pacquiao or Spence. Crawford, Spence, I don't agree that the need doesn't need to be now. Pacquiao's only getting older, though. If you want to see a more entertaining fight or a better fight, you want a Crawford and Pacquiao now. I think we've already touched base on that in a previous show, but I mean,
run on things to talk about without fights.
It is, but this is starting to get like more and more real as the weeks go on. So that's why this is news. I mean, they just broke it today. Like they're getting closer and closer with Pacquiao and Crawford actually having a fight as opposed to Spence and Crawford. So Sugar Ray Leonard coming out and saying what he's saying, that's great, but we'll see. I mean, if Arum's coming out and saying that this is getting closer and closer to being inked, then man, I don't know who to believe. I don't know who to believe, but I want to believe somebody. It doesn't really matter as long as one of those fights happens. That's going to be a treat for everybody.
Well, I'm willing to lay down the money here, James, against you right now. That if Crawford fights Spence or Crawford fights Pacquiao, either one, I'll have a case of Tecate bet with you on the winner. I get Spence or Pacquiao, whoever is in the fight, and you get Crawford in either fight. And my guy wins, you got to drink a case. So like 1 a show, maybe 2 a show until that case is gone, and vice versa. You on?
On air? Why don't you just try to drink it one night? I'll be
you can try to go like that. I mean,
AF anyway, man.
I don't want to see you throw up on air. I mean,
I don't got to do that on air.
Hey, can I play host here for a second? Raider Live. Are you telling me that Pacquiao beats Crawford and Errol Spence beats Crawford?
Yep.
Jimmy James, are you telling me that Crawford beats Spence and or Pacquiao?
Yeah. I think I've already said that before.
My hosting duties are over. Oh, that is interesting. Very, very interesting.
So we got a bet there, Judge?
Man, I guess.
Oh,
yeah, I'll take that bet.
He's already worried about it.
Yeah, I ain't worried about nothing, man. You're going to knock you off your high horse up there, Raider Live. That's it. You're doing that.
Well, maybe if you win, we'll put you up in the upper right corner here once in a while.
Yeah, maybe you should.
Instead of being below me.
We'll move to Nebraska.
I want in on this bet. Let's go through details another week, but I'll suffer and have some Tecate if I lose. I want in on this. We'll figure it out another time.
So you want the Spence and you
want? I don't know what I want. I don't know what I want. But
you had him at 6 last week. 6.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'd take Crawford over Pacquiao and Spence over Crawford. I don't know.
Where'd you have Pacquiao last week? I don't remember. Now. I think you had Pacquiao high too, didn't you?
I don't remember.
I thought you had him.
I had him at 5.
I thought you had him at like 5 or 6 too. I don't remember.
I had Inoue at 5. I had Spence at 3. Who did I have at 4? I had Crawford at 6.
I think you had Pacquiao at 4.
Couldn't have had Pacquiao at 4. I had to have.
I thought I had Pacquiao the highest. I don't know. We'll have to go check out the show, and you guys let us know in the comments. How about that?
Yeah, which one it is. I wish I could bring it up, but I don't know where I have it on my sheets here. So
it's all right.
Yeah. Anyway, you guys saw the show. All right, Tecate bet it is.
Goodness. Ah!
All right, let's move on to the Filthy Five. All right, boys, we haven't done a Filthy Five in 2 weeks, and in that time, Judge Jimmy James has been the champion. We're doing junior lightweight this week, the 130-pound division. And as the defending champ, Jimmy James, you get to go first. Oh, wait,
right.
first, do we have anyone that we agree we're not excluding anyone, correct?
No.
Okay.
Not excluding anybody that I know of. So we are ready to rock.
Yeah. Who's your number 5?
Well, I just made a last-minute change
Oh, no.
while on air, giving some stuff more thought. Moved a guy out, put a guy up into the number 5 position. So my number 5 fighter in the 130 pounds is going to be Tevin Farmer. 29 years old. He's 35 and 1 with only 6 knockouts. He doesn't have a lot of knockouts. He doesn't have a lot of power, but all but one of his losses were all very, very early in his career. And one of them was actually to Jose Pedraza, who is no slouch himself. So he fought him real young. So he's had like 20 plus fights without a loss before his most recent loss, which is against Jojo Diaz. He actually had a draw against Ogawa. And that was, I'm not sure what happened. I don't remember 100% what happened there, but Ogawa tested positive for a drug test. So it just ended up being a draw or no contest or something like that. I don't know how it still became out to a draw. I'd have to look on more to it. But I mean, if you watch his fight against Jojo Diaz, he made one of the one of the nastiest cuts over the left eye of Diaz that I've seen early in the round, and it was gross. I don't know how they didn't stop the fight. It was kind of crazy. It wasn't bleeding. It was just like crazy open. You need to go see that.
I think you
Maybe
texted
flash
me a picture that when it happened.
No, man. Go flash a picture. It's kind of gross. You might want to look away at that point. But number 5 at the 130, I've got Tevin Farmer.
Right on. Filthy Rich, who do you got your number 5?
Look, that Tevin Farmer pick is really solid. I almost dropped a dough right there. That was how solid the Tevin Farmer pick is. I struggled with him as well. Maybe he's in my 5, maybe he's not. Number 5 right now, because I'm probably going to be switching my list here live too, man. This is a tough list. I do have Jojo Diaz as number 5. And part of the reason why is not necessarily his body of work, but just the skills he puts out there every time he fights. His only loss was to Gary Russell Jr. in what I thought was a very close fight. But Russell Jr. probably didn't win all 12 rounds, but he was just a half step ahead of Diaz that entire fight. And Diaz probably shouldn't have even taken that fight. He did. I applaud him. Again, nobody should be penalized for taking a risky fight. Yes, he did that. Yeah, he beat Farmer, and it sounded like it was a close fight. I'm sick of calling them fights, but that's what they are. It's a close fight. But I like how Farmer fights. He has taken on a lot of opponents. I think he's one of the most active fighters in boxing right now, if you think about it. But I have Jojo Diaz just ahead of him, so I guess spoiler alert, Farmer is not in my top 5. Jojo Diaz is.
Well, you didn't have to say Farmer wasn't in your top 5. You said earlier before that he might be.
Might be, but let's just get it out of the way. There's no way I can put Farmer ahead of Diaz after explaining all that. I didn't like Farmer's body of work at the end of the day. I don't care about those 5 losses. They came early. And when you're out there just fighting, you're going to get some losses. You're going to get some bad decisions. You're not going to scout your opponent properly. You're out there to make the dough, and I understand that. But right now, I have Jojo Diaz over Farmer simply because they already fought. And I know we just talked about rematches and how, like me personally, I'm not a big fan of rematches when one guy decisively wins. But a Diaz Farmer rematch, I would be excited for.
Right on. Well, who you got at number 4?
Look, I'm just going to throw this out there because my list is probably going to be switching up here in a little bit. Right now, I have.
You guys are supposed to have these done before the show.
Look, this is very tough, and I thought I did all my homework. And now looking at this, I have Oscar Valdes at number 4, and for the most part, it is because he has 21 knockouts. Young guy, 21 knockouts, in the middle of his prime. I think out of everyone in this division, I like the fact that he beat Scott Quigg. My opinion on Scott Quigg, and maybe I overrated him 5 years ago or so, but I thought Scott Quigg was the king of nobody's beating Scott Quigg. Scott Quigg is the best. So when he beat Scott Quigg, oh boy, you beat Scott Quigg. Yeah, he beat Mariaga too. That's his other big name on his list. But I have Valdes almost simply because of the undefeated record, even though you're fighting Uber drivers, the 21 knockouts and beating Scott Quigg. Boy, I'm gonna be labeled a Scott Quigg guy pretty soon. I
think Scott Quigg's been mentioned this much in 5 years on any show in the world, including his own house.
He beat Quigg in 2018, and Quigg was probably on the downslide at that point. But I have Oscar Valdes at 4.
Just a little quick note. I found it. You had Mikey Garcia at 4 last week. You had Pacquiao actually at 9. James is the one that had that Pacquiao the highest at 5. I had him at 10. So just touching on that. Judge Jimmy James, what do you got it for?
That's an interesting one. I wasn't expecting Valdes to be tossed up here in this list, to be honest with you, Rich. So that's curveball.
He likes to take them risks.
I have a feeling you have a guy coming up here that I don't have on my list, but I want to hear you defend him.
Well, I'll just say, right, I thought we were talking about a different guy before the show. And that's not the same guy, so we're definitely going to have something different, I think. Yeah, either way, my number 4, I actually have Jojo Diaz. I have him above Farmer because obviously he beat Farmer. He took that nasty eye cut in the 3rd round of that fight and still took it the entire distance. I thought he was going to be like, how many times Farmer hit his left eye? I thought for sure Jojo was going to go, like they were going to stop it at some point, but it didn't happen. So he's, 27 years old. He's super young, 31-1. That his only loss, like you said before, is to Gary Russell Jr. That was a fight of the week at one point. So I hope you guys watched that. Jojo Diaz versus Russell Jr. I think he just recently moved up to super featherweight too, because he was a title holder for like 3 years in featherweight from like 2015 to 2018 or something like that. But I think this kid's a fun kid to watch. He's going to be moving up in this division, fighting some big names. I don't see him going away anytime soon. Him fighting Farmer again, I think that would be a great rematch. I would watch that in a heartbeat. But Jojo Diaz, that's who I've got at number 4.
Yeah, beat him by unanimous decision in that one. Just like the name of our old show, unanimous decision. All right, Jojo Diaz at 4. Rich had him at 5. Rich has Oscar Valdes at 4. And you have Tevin Farmer at 5. Judge, you got number 3.
So I don't like you, Jimmy James. The dream. I don't like you, man. I don't like this. Go ahead.
All right. Well, so this is the guy that I have at 3. This is the guy that I thought you were talking about. Maybe you still were talking about him, but the fighter that I have at number 3, who didn't seem to be very high on anybody's list, for me is actually Carl Frampton.
Frampton comes alive?
Yeah, that's where I got him, man. He's 32 years old. He's 27-2. He's got 15 knockouts. He's only lost to Josh Warrington, who was essentially, I think was he a BAB champion?
Josh Warrington.
Can't remember if he was or not, but he was high up on these lists. Santa Cruz is his other loss.
Josh Warrington wasn't the champ.
He wasn't the champion? Might have been 2. Either way, he's still high up in that division. But he lost to Santa Cruz and he beat Santa Cruz. So he's also beat Nonito Denare and Kiko Martinez twice. So like this guy, he's not a slouch. He is an English fighter, which drives me nuts. But he's actually one of those guys that will cross the pond to come and fight in the U.S. So I give him a lot of props for that, because most of these guys won't do that. But I mean, in that fight against Warrington, it was a real close. I think it was 116, 113 is what that stuff averaged out to, man. That was a lot closer fight than it should have been. This might be a stretch. I'm kind of curious to see Rich's reaction and comments on this, but at number 3, I have got Carl Frampton.
All right. Filthy Rich, who you got at 3?
So I just want to hit rewind here a little bit. When we talked about boxing coming back, the audience and the crowd and that energy that you get, even when you're sitting at home. And I mentioned Triple G's entrance, how, look, I'm gonna like headlock people and wrestle people because I just get that amped. You know who else I get amped for with their entrance? And I love their entrance. My number 3 guy.
Frampton comes alive?
Carl Frampton. Carl Frampton's entrance gets me so hyped. I don't even remember the name of the song, but go do your homework and look for Carl Frampton's old entrances, or his entrance, that song he plays when he comes out and the crowd just sings along with it. It is phenomenal. I can't describe it. But there's nothing much I can add other than a name we're now familiar with. Scott Quigg. When he beat Scott Quigg in 2016, that's when I believe Scott Quigg was in his prime. And I didn't even want to watch the fight. I'm like, Quigg's going to win this fight. I mean, Frampton's good and everything. It's a good fight. This makes sense, but let's not get carried away. Scott Quigg is Scott Quigg. He's going to win. Boy, was I shocked when Carl Frampton won. Anyways, let me just say that Carl Frampton's number 3. Jimmy James, who went through everything. His losses were to Warrington on a close one. He split with Santa Cruz. Again, that's one of those ones I wouldn't mind seeing a third fight with those guys. I think Santa Cruz wins for whatever reasons. I don't really want to get into now, but I have Carl Frampton third. That's all I get. The Donaire and whatever. I got Carl Frampton. I think he's on the downslide, but I still think he beats
Scott Quigg.
Probably beats Scott Quigg again. I think a fight with Valdes and Jojo Diaz would make sense. I know he's a Frank Warren guy, and I believe he's still a Frank Warren guy. And I think Frank Warren can make those fights happen. So don't rule out a big Carl Frampton fight in the next
Frampton's going to be fighting Jamal Herring coming up next, apparently. So
there's a name on this list. There's a sport.
It could be, but he's got a fight coming up against him. So there's your big fight.
I guess we're not going to talk. But if he's fighting, if Frampton's fighting Jamal Herring, I don't want Jamal Herring. I don't want to say anything, but I think Frampton beats Jamal Herring.
Oh, all right.
It's my opinion.
Well, what's your number 2? If it's Herring or Scott Quigg, it's going to sound really weird.
I don't even want. Man, I can't throw this.
Which one?
Away. All right, so oh boy. See, at this point, when the Dream started saying he's going to switch it up at the last minute, I may have gotten this one wrong. Boy, let's just at number 2. I'm gonna go with what my gut told me at least yesterday.
I always trust your gut.
Number 2, I got Miguel Berchelt. I have him beating. He's beaten Sosa and he's beaten Vargas twice. But those two weren't like these they're gatekeepers and they make for a good fight. But when he beat Takashi Mayura, oh man, that was it. I know the fight of the week last week was Berchelt and Vargas, and that stamped Berchelt's, I don't want to call it a legacy, but it's put his name on the map. But Vargas and Mayura had a war too. That was fun. And when Miguel Burchelt beat Mayura, I knew that Burchelt is for real. So I have Burchelt at number 2, and like those 33 knockouts in 38 fights is really what makes me want to put him at number 1. But again, yesterday's gut told me he was number 2, so I'm just going to ride with that. Miguel Burchelt at number 2.
You both had him in your pound-for-pound list. James had him at 14, and you had him at 11. Shocking that you have him at 2 there. I thought for sure he'd probably be your number 1. I might be able to guess your number 1 now. Maybe not. I don't know. All right, Judge, who you got at number 2?
Man, I don't know if you're gonna be able to guess the number 1 there, Raider Live. That's an interesting take right there, but who I got at number 2 on my list at 130 is Miguel Burchelt.
No.
I also have him at number 2, and that was a struggle. Let me tell you why it was a struggle. He is 28 years old. He is 37-1 with 33 knockouts, 86 KO percentage, like you touched on, Rich. His biggest knock is that he's a 1-division champ, and it's this division. He just dominates this division. There's a reason he was number 14 on my pound-for-pound list, and that was pretty much the only reason. I had him in my top 10 at one point and flipped him down because of that. But he is a super entertaining fighter. His offense is nonstop. He has no defense. He has no technical. His defensive prowess is non-existent. If you've seen this, but something really interesting that I heard Andre Ward talk about this guy, and he said that even though he has no defense whatsoever, his offense is so in your face that it is his defense. And you can't throw punches when you have punches coming at you constantly. And that's what this guy does. If you watch the fight of the week, it is just nonstop, and you can't even counterpunch. You don't have a second. You either move or you get hit in the face. And he still gets hit in the face quite a bit, but he doesn't back down. He doesn't back up. He is ever relentless. And man, this guy, I want to see him fight my number 1 big time. I want to see them fight this year. I want to see my number 1 fight this guy. Probably, oh man, I really want to see it. That'd be awesome. But Miguel Burchelt, he is my number 2 as well, Rich.
Wow, you guys shocking me right out of the gate. I thought he had a chance of being a BAB champion, to tell you the truth. All right, without telling me any explanation, Judge Jimmy James, who you got at number 1?
No explanation?
No, you'll come back for your explanation, but for number 1, we always say, it's to see if we have a BAB champion or not, and then you come back and do your explanation. So, who do you have at 1?
My number 1 was number 11 on my pound-for-pound list last week, and that was Leo Santa Cruz.
What do you got, Filthy Rich, as your number 1?
El Terremoto, Leo Santa Cruz.
All right, that means we have a BAB champion of the junior lightweight division, 130 pounds. Put it up there. Leo Santa Cruz, we will now follow you on Twitter. You have now won the most prestigious title of your career. Congratulations. I thought it was going to be Burchelt. I really thought you guys were going to keep Burchelt. I really did. But Leo Santa Cruz, you are our champion. Congratulations. All right, Judge Jimmy James, you get to start off explaining why Leo Santa Cruz is your number 1.
Oh, like I just stated, he was number 11 on my pound-for-pound list. He actually, at one point, I had him as high as 6, if you really want to get to it. I'll throw it out there right now, and I did have to move him down. He is a 4-division champion. His only loss was to Carl Frampton, which we already talked about, which he also avenged, and he also beat Abner Mares twice. Like this, he is a great fighter. He's 37-1-1, 19 knockouts. He's still pretty, 31, right at the tail end of the prime, but he's not going to slow down anytime soon. This guy is fun to watch. I know I probably say that same thing about a lot of people, but he's super fun to watch. This guy is going to be. I want to see him fight Berchelt. I want to see that fight real bad. I would want to see that fight real bad. But
all right, Filthy Rich, your choice or your chance to explain why Leo Santa Cruz is our BAB champion of the junior lightweight division.
There's not much I can add. We went with 30.
Well, you better. You're behind. He might be behind on points.
I'm behind on points. No, I get it. That's fine. But
I don't know if you are. I haven't added it up.
Well, sure. I know I'm behind it. You just gave it away, and that's
I didn't
fine.
Actually. I only graded 2 rounds.
It doesn't matter that much. But look, I think Santa Cruz is the exciting fighter. Berchelt's is going to go out there, beat people up. And I guess that's what we want in boxing. We want to see a beatdown. We want to get this thing over with. So the 33 knockouts is really what wanted me to put him at number 1 so I can move on with my life and get some things done. Santa Cruz, his last fight, I think it went 12 rounds. You know, he takes his time in the early rounds. I'm not a big fan of that. But with that Mares fight, like I mentioned before our 10th episode, that was my fight of the week. Go watch Mares and Santa Cruz. 2,000 punches were thrown. That was a record for that division. And I will remember Santa Cruz for fighting that kind of style, and he always has that in his back pocket. Sometimes he makes that slow start, and that's fine. But if you want to go slug it out and throw a bunch of punches, boy, Santa Cruz will do it. Talk about him and Berchelt fighting at some point. Would it be nice? Yes, it would be nice because, like you said, Berchelt doesn't play any defense. At least Andre Ward says he doesn't play defense. But when you're getting hit like that, blah, blah, blah. You may as well just say that about Santa Cruz because Santa Cruz, I don't know what his defense is, but he will throw punches with the best of them. I have him at number 1. Because if the two of them met right now, I'm taking Santa Cruz because he's disciplined enough to start off slow to see what his opponent's bringing to him and then go in for the kill whenever he feels like it.
All right. Well, first off, again, congratulations to Leo Santa Cruz.
Congratulations, Jimmy James.
BAB champion. No, not necessarily. I just try to say those things that fire you up. So this is kind of I was grading it as you guys were talking there. As you can probably see, I was looking off screen a lot because I'm doing, instead of writing stuff down like I've been doing for the last weeks, I got a new monitor and I'm just I'm welcoming myself to the technology age of using a computer.
Oh my god.
So this is how I had it scored. I had James win in the first round with his farmer argument over Diaz. Then I had Filthy Rich winning the second round with Valdes over Jojo Diaz. I thought he made a great argument with Valdes and took a risk out there. I had Jim winning round 3. His Frampton argument was better. It just was. He had more stats and everything like that. But then I liked Filthy Rich's argument on Berchelt coming back in that one. So you were tied going to that one. That's why I said, it's behind. It's in points. So it comes down to the final round of who had the better argument of Leo Santa Cruz. And
I remember, if I may, when you asked us on the super middleweight where we had Durrell. I want to know where who was Jamel Herring? Where does Jamel Herring fall in any of this? Jimmy James, where'd you have Jamel Herring?
Okay, we don't know how to find out who won.
Let's keep it suspense. We need to keep everyone in suspense. I'm in suspense, but I want to know about Herring before we move on to the 13th round.
So my decision to switch out my number 5 for me was putting Farmer ahead of Herring.
Really?
So there's also one other person that wasn't named for me that I could have put in that 5 spot, but he's kind of like the journeyman. And that's also Miguel Roman. He has a lot of losses, but he's got a lot of wins, man, a lot of knockouts. But I had Herring he was at 5 until we started the list, and then I had to put Farmer in there. I just had.
So you have Valdes as low as 8.
I'm not denying that he's like that was it. Dude, Valdes is would probably be right in that mix. He'd be in that 6, 7, 8 for me, 100%. But he, I guess I don't know as much about him. I mean, the undefeated record is nice, but I don't go off of that part of it. You know what I mean? And 21 knockouts is good. I mean, how long did I follow Triple G when he was Triple G, when all he was doing was knocking out fools and he wasn't fighting anybody? He was just knocking fools out. So yeah, I could. I mean, for me, I had Valdes at potentially that low.
Yeah, no, I get it. And even with Valdes, I mean, he's I don't want to like label any of these guys, but he's a Bob Arum guy. He's very protected. He fights on ESPN and he fights whatever Bob Arum gives him. So just like Crawford, I've probably been hard on Crawford. I never mean to be hard on Crawford, but you can only fight the guys in front of you, and you can only beat them up for so long. And that's why I had Valdes at 4. I didn't have I've watched Herring fight, and I really want to root for this guy. I think he's a Marine.
He is.
Yeah, and I'm like, I really want to root for this guy, but I thought
he's John Cena.
Well, I thought there are like some questionable wins he's had in his career. I really watched this guy, and I really want him to win. I have him as low as like 7 or 8, something like that. But anyways, I don't know if the drum roll has started and enough with the delay and whatnot. And I don't know if we're getting a split decision here. But go ahead, Raider Live. I'm throwing it to you, man.
Oh, it's back to me. Okay, is it okay? This was my segment. You guys just jumped into all of a sudden here. It was my turn to talk, and then we were just talking about Herring and people that we have in our 6, 7, and 8 spots on the filthy
Apologies,
5.
That's all me. I talk too much. Raider Live. Thank you.
You do too. You do talk too much, but when you talk, you are very intelligent. And
thanks.
It was that intelligent talk that got you the win this week, winning the Filthy 5. Filthy Rich, you are our new champion. Squeaked it out in the argument of Leo Santa Cruz. I like your argument a little stronger. Had a lot more passion in it, I should say. Passion behind it. Jimmy seemed a little too standoffish on his argument of Leo Santa Cruz. So I gave it just slight edge to Filthy Rich. Filthy Rich, congratulations on winning your title back. I got to figure out the records here at some point. I think you guys are pretty close to even. But Filthy Rich, you get a full 30 seconds of whatever you want to talk about. If you want to rub it in Judge Jimmy Jim's face for 30 seconds, you can, because I can put him on mute so he can't retort for 30 seconds.
I'm man enough to shut it.
Oh, too late.
Jimmy James, he muted you. Look.
Your 30 seconds starts now.
All right, so I guess, Jimmy James, you did your homework. You killed it again. I don't think we really win or lose. I think we both, as long as we get the views, we're both doing good. I don't even know. I think I froze there. Anyways, I want to give a shout out to a woman by the name of Kim Clavel. Today she won the Pat Tillman Award for Courage. She's a boxer, 11-0, and she quit boxing. I guess everyone kind of quit boxing, but she went to go work on the front lines in her degree as a nurse. So shout out to all the nurses out there. You guys are killing it. Shout out to everyone taking over and fighting for justice. All you people, we love you. But this little thing I have here, Kim Clavel. She's a Canadian woman. I think she speaks French, so she's probably from Montreal. My 30 seconds are probably up. But Kim Clavel, I think Brews&Boxing will be following her tonight as well.
I was gonna mute you, but you were talking too much good stuff that I couldn't bear to mute you during that.
Mute me whenever you feel like.
Speaking of goodwill, did you guys? I don't know if you guys follow Jamal James, Shango from here, but he's been doing a bunch of stuff for Minneapolis with food drives and stuff like that. He turned his gym into a giant food drive, which is pretty neat for the things that are happening. We filmed this show near Minneapolis in Minnesota, so obviously you guys know there's a lot of things going on here we'll not get into. Because we like to forget about things for a little while and have some fun talking boxing. But it's good to hear that boxing and boxers are stepping out of the ring, so to speak, and helping the communities out. It's really good to hear that. All right, congratulations, Filthy Rich. You are the champion this week in good 30 seconds. That went about a minute and a half, but no big deal. Let's move on to the 13th round. All right, 13th round this week is 13th round always. We talk about something in sports, not necessarily boxing. The other two big sports that are back that just talked about it are NHL and the NBA. They both agreed that they're going to have tournaments, so to speak, to finish out their seasons. Turns out the NBA is going to be delaying theirs, so they're actually going to be competing against the NFL at the same time, which is probably not a good idea. But the NHL's got instead of a 16-team tournament, they have a 22 or 20-team tournament, I think is what it is, with some play-in games and some series. We've talked about playoff basketball and playoff hockey in the past. Gentlemen, how excited are you for the hockey and basketball tournaments? We'll start. I'll give James the hockey tournaments, and I'll give Rich the basketball tournaments because that's kind of where you guys hang out more often. I think James watches more hockey than Rich does, and Rich watches more boxing or basketball than hockey. So, James, we'll start it off with you. How do you feel about this NHL tournament? And the Wild are in it, by the way, because they squeaked in.
Man, I mean, I think we talked about this a little bit on one of these episodes in the 13th round about what I don't remember what I don't remember
about
how
what
it
you
came
missed
up.
the most about sports being gone, and we're talking about how exciting it is to sit with your buddies and watch playoff.
So we're talking about hockey, and now you're just making a giant tournament for hockey. You're just making a larger playoff bracket.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, count me in. I'm going to watch that, especially because we've been so deprived of sports in the first place. However, it's probably not going to go anywhere near what you think it will because these guys have not been playing. You know, your top-ranked guys. Who knows how this is just a straight wild card. Who knows how any team is going to actually come out and play and perform with this much time off, not getting that much time to even practice again with each other. But I'll tell you right now, it's going to be entertaining. I don't do Raider Live. Do you know if these if these are like best of 5 and then best of 7? Is that like
What they're going to do? What they're going to do is they're going to have the top 4 seeds are going to play each other. I believe they haven't discussed it. It's either going to be a 1-game series or a 3-game series. Just the top 4 teams are going to play each other for their top 4 seeds. Okay, and then the bottom 4, then they're going to have a tournament to get into that final 16 between the teams that are just on the outside of the playoffs, like the Wild, and those will all be 5-game series. And then once we get to 16, and that's what they normally are at, we'll have our 16-game series where they'll all be 7-game series from then on out. So it should take. They're all going to play in 2 spots. Like the Eastern Conference is going to play in one arena, and the Western Conference is going to play in one arena. So they're just going to play one after another. So it's going to have like a high school hockey tournament style feel where you're just going to have one game after another, which would be kind of fun to watch. If we can have a day of hockey, we're sitting there watching 4 playoff hockey games back to back to back. That'd be a lot of fun to watch. So, and it'd be something we've never seen before. So I'm excited for that. That's what they're going to do with it, is what it sounds like. So.
Oh man, if that's okay, yeah, I'm in.
Yeah.
If that's the format, I'll tell you right now how much I like watching high school hockey where it's from 9 a.m. all the way to 8 p.m. and it's just nonstop. Yeah, count me in if this is the professionals and they are in it to play for something. This isn't exhibitions or anything like this. They're playing still for the cup.
They said it will be officially the Stanley Cup. Is what
dude, count me in. Even if you don't like hockey, watch this. Watch it. This will be entertaining for you. It doesn't even matter. Watch it.
Let's hope the Wild can get a hot goalie. I don't know who it would be, but our goalie
probably Stalock. It's got to be Stalock. It can't be Dubnik.
Well, Dubnik has gotten hot in the past. You never know. Dubnik, you never know. Maybe he's better without a crowd around him. So, Filthy Rich, you got the NBA tournaments. They're doing the same style, except they're not going to they're going to do something a little different. They're going to have a little regular season, like a shortened regular season finishing up. Like they're not going to bring some teams in, like the Wolves aren't going to be playing anymore. It's just going to bring in like 5 or 6 teams that are on the edge of it, and they're going to play like a 5-game season to see who gets into the bracket, so to speak. And apparently they're going to start that. I heard mid-August that might actually go into football season, which that's going to hurt against the ratings. Hopefully they play during the week. But what do you think about the NBA tournaments coming up?
So I'm excited for basketball. As much as I'm kind of against the whole format, I guess you could call it, I'm excited to watch some basketball again. So my idea let's go back. Let's backtrack a little bit. The games are supposed to start July 31st. That's when, no, I think that's a long ways away.
That's the regular season that they're starting that, right?
Or maybe that's when the playoffs start. But as far as like getting the, what'd you say, 5 games or whatever it
Yeah, they're
is.
gonna have like a 5-game season or something.
Okay. And even if it goes 8 or whatever it is, from what I understand, in order for the NBA to make their television revenue dollars, 70 games must be played. And that's why there's like 5 games. A lot of these teams have already hit 66 games or 64, whatever it may be. But maybe the Wolves aren't in. I don't know how this television revenue thing, because if the Wolves aren't in and they don't get their 70 games, do they get a piece of this pie? I don't know all the details. What I do know is that there's 22 teams in, with a few teams getting buys and all this stuff. If it were up to me, I would say giant tournament. Like, why not? We already got. Are you gonna dough the word screwed us over?
Yeah.
We got screwed. So we got screwed over on March Madness. Give me, it's not, if there's 30 teams in the NBA, if you don't know, I have to pretend like you guys don't know. So let's just say there's 32 teams. Well, let's do this. The Lakers, who have the number 1 seed, and the Bucks, who also get a number 1 seed, get a bye and reseed everything. So teams like the Wolves and the Warriors and Cavs all can get in on this. And then get your, do a 7-game series and just move on with 7-game series. I am really excited for both basketball and the NHL to restart and at least finish a season and see where we go from there. But I am super excited about some NBA.
I'm interested in that. I didn't think of that, making a NCAA style tournament. I'd watch that a lot more, because let's face it, the NBA playoffs are never really exciting until it gets like the Final Four of them, because it's not like hockey where 8 seeds go to win the cup. That happens all the time. We had an 8 seed sweep a 1 seed last year. I mean, it happens. I can't remember the last 8 seed that beat a 1 seed in the NBA. It doesn't happen. I mean, they're so top heavy. But if you put it in an NCAA style where, hey, it's 1 game and you're out, I'd watch that, and everyone has a chance. I mean,
I don't want 1 game and you're out. I want 7-game series, so people like
maybe you do a 7-game series when you get down to the Final Four.
I don't know, but here's what I can tell you. These guys, just like in the NHL, they have not played together in so long. I don't think it's good for the sport to have the Golden State Warriors and the Cleveland Cavaliers, who have their seasons are done, for them to just get lucky for a few weeks. I don't think either one has a chance. Don't get me wrong, but I also don't want to see number 1 and 2 and 3 seeds be eliminated. Just like I don't want to see the Portland Trail Blazers be eliminated. I think they're like a 9 or a 10 right now, whatever it may be. But I think every team should have a shot at it. Every team would make their television local revenue deals work. So I wish that were the case, but nonetheless, I am excited for playoff style sports, NHL and NBA.
So you don't like these Cinderellas in NCAA? You like the big seeds making it all the way?
Man, I don't like those stupid Cinderella. Get out of here with that Cinderella stuff, man.
I love the Cinderella team.
I want to see the big market teams. That's what I want to see.
Gonzaga was a Cinderella team that was nothing, and they, I believe they took the Gophers out, who were a 3 seed back in '95 or '96 or something like that, and they were a nothing school. Everyone's like, "Who the heck's Gonzaga?" And now they're a big time school. I mean,
John Stockton went to Gonzaga, so I don't want to hear it. There's no nothing schools in the NCAA.
There was at the time. I'm saying that Cinderella run made them a big school.
Minnesota's not a big school. They never were. Number 3, it's all subjective, just like the problems in boxing are all subjective.
Hey.
Madeline Bird was on the panel of putting the Gophers at number 3. She'd have been fired. Gonzaga, I don't know where they were seated. I don't know what kind of Cinderella story there is. I'm not a Cinderella guy. Give me the big names.
Don't you remember we made the Final Four? We had Bobby Jackson and
Bobby J. Sam
and Ray Leonard. What's his name? Vashawn Leonard.
Leonard.
That's why Sugar Ray.
Yeah,
Leonard.
Sugar Ray Leonard was playing
John
some
Leonard,
basketball.
Bobby Jackson. Who else was on that team? There was another famous guy on
Bob
that.
Martin, Ernest Zigamazabo. Let's not talk about the Gopher basketball back in the day. Yeah, Bobby Jackson and Vashawn Leonard.
But there was another one. There was another.
There was Sam Jacobson. I'm
Sam
not sure
Jacobson. That's
right.
who I was thinking of. Yeah, Sam Jacobson.
Shout out to Sam Jacobson.
Yeah, I mean that was a great team. What are you talking about? They were a good team. They were a great team.
One of my best friend's cousin is Sam Jacobson. Kellen, I love you, bro.
Really? Wow.
Yes, Kellen, my boy. I don't want to get into it. Let's get back to our boxing. But Kellen Jacobson, I love you, bro.
All right, that was a good segment, boys. We're both excited for some playoff sports. To be honest, I probably won't watch the basketball one if it intercedes with football. I'm going to watch football over it. So maybe if they have it on different nights, I'll watch it. I'll watch both of them. But
dude, football's 1 day a week. Of course, they're going to have.
Football is more than 1 day a week. What? Football is Thursday, Sunday, Monday, and now they took in over Saturday. If there's no college football, they said they're going to have games on Saturdays. So that's 4 days a week.
Put the pipe down, man.
No, they already said that. They said if NCAA football doesn't happen, they're going to have games on Saturdays.
Let me tell you, if boxing was Monday through Friday and Saturday, yes, I guess I would be watching boxing every day too. Yeah, you're right.
Hey.
I don't put the pipe down. Neither should you.
Hey, we're boxing experts, but I'm not ashamed to say I know a lot more about football than I do about boxing, and I get very excited for football as well. And I can debate football all day long.
Me too.
That's not what we're going to do on this show. That's for a different show. And that show's still in the works. If you were looking for it this week, I'm sorry. We had some technical difficulties with that, but we are actually going to start filming that one soon, so be looking for it. No promises on when, but we're getting that worked out right now. All right, let's move on to the question of the week. All right, Filthy Rich, this week's question of the week is a response to the call-out you made during our 10th anniversary show from Joe Sweat. You called out Ryan Hype 2 weeks ago, and he showed up on the show and scared the bejesus out of all of us with his awesome makeup job. This is his brother, Joe Sweat, and he's checking in from Mexico, all the way south of the border. We've gone international. We have international fans now. He's answering your call-out with the question, what would your dream fight be between any two boxers in history, and how do you think it would play out?
Joe Sweat? How does Joe Sweat? What? I don't know if I missed something or what, but Joe Sweat, my man. Hey, love you, Joe Sweat. Okay, so a dream fight. Look, the right answer. It's been debated for I don't know how many years now, but Tyson Ali is something I think we all kind of want. We all wish we could have seen. I'm pretty sure there's been Photoshop edited stuff. I guess it would be video shop. I'm not hip with the terminology, but Ali Tyson, everyone wants. Who would win? I mean that argument's been going on for a long time. I think Ali wins that fight. I think Ali can play the defense. He may play rope-a-dope on Tyson, but Tyson he's a hard hitter, and he will. If you want to play rope-a-dope with him, I think Ali takes him because George Foreman is the one he played rope-a-dope with, and he beat George Foreman. And I think George Foreman has been known to be a heavier hitter than Mike Tyson. So I would take Ali. That is the PC answer. I believe that is the PC answer. That's the one we should all come up with, personally.
Yeah, I mean, Foreman's obviously the heaviest hitter. He was the Mike Tyson of his day. I mean, he was knocking people out left and right. Well, the movie Ali, when they're talking, he wanted to get another fight with who do you want to get a fight with? Ali was trying to get another fight with Joe Frazier, and then Joe Frazier was fighting George Foreman on the TV, and George Foreman knocked his head clean off. And he's like, well, I think you can get a fight with Joe Frazier now if you want, because he was mean and big and bad.
It's been said Ernie Shavers is the hardest hitter in the heavyweight division. That's another story. We're not going to get into that. As far as like a personal dream match, I would say the best fighter in my lifetime is Roy Jones Jr. The best fighter of all time is Sugar Ray Robinson. So I guess the two of them, I think that would be fun. Sugar Ray Robinson probably wins. There's a reason he's the greatest fighter of all time. I'm not. Maybe we can do an hour show where we just talk Sugar Ray Robinson stories. I think Ray Robinson beats Roy Jones, but Roy Jones, the best fighter in my lifetime, most exciting fighter in my lifetime, and Sugar Ray Robinson, Walker Smith is the greatest fighter of all time. And if you have any debate about that, come on our show and we can debate that. I think if I have a third one here just to throw it out there because we're pretty familiar with names, but if there was a I guess you could say a pre-Tyson and maybe even in a way a pre-Ali, I would say another fantasy matchup for the old people out there, the old schoolers. I mean old people, not old schoolers, but old people, old man. You'd probably want to see Jack Johnson and Joe Louis. I think that would be a clash of heavyweights. A bunch of stories behind them. I have them ranked in my top 5, the two of them, all-time heavyweights. Those are 3 answers. Ali, Tyson, Jones Jr., Ray Robinson, Jack Johnson, Joe Louis.
Jack Johnson and Rocky Marciano.
Joe Sweat, thank you for your question.
What do you think about Jack Johnson, Rocky Marciano?
I think Jack Johnson beats Rocky Marciano. Jack Johnson used to fight like 20-something rounds.
Yeah, did, right?
Excuse me?
Didn't he fight bare knuckled a couple fights too? Like they had no time limits on things.
Right. There was all kind. Do we really have to get into? If you ever watch a knockdown in any fight, when the guy gets back up, you'll see the referee dust off the gloves. That came from an era when they used to fight on dirt. And the reason they brushed the gloves off on the dirt or back in the day is because you didn't want dirt from the glove hitting the other guy in his eye and now he's blinded. They don't need to keep doing that, but they do it, I guess, in a way to pay homage to the fighters of the 1900s, 1800s, something like that.
Wow, I never knew that. That's an interesting tidbit. Judge, you got any dream fights that you were thinking about? Or do we touch on?
I got one fight, and this is going to be specific to I want Joe Sweat to ask this question to the people he's hanging out with and the friends he has down in Mexico right now.
Okay.
There's one big fight for me that we never got to see that I think would be pretty interesting, and that is going to be Julio Cesar Chavez against Roberto Duran.
Oh my God.
I would want to see that fight. I would be really curious to see what his friends down in Mexico have to say about who would win that fight. The Mexican against the man from Panama. Joe Sweat, ask the question. Give us the info. I would love to hear the arguments on that.
Can I jump in really quick? We have a Filthy Fan question of the week lined up, and the question is, who wins, Roberto Duran or Julio Cesar Chavez? Spoiler alert, it's coming. That question is on the list of questions to be answered in a few weeks. So that is so cool. Judge Jimmy James brings that up.
That is awesome. One last thing I want to touch on question of the week just before. I'm surprised that neither of you guys had Mayweather in any of your fights. Mayweather fighting someone that actually can give him a challenge, maybe Mayweather versus a young Pacquiao or Mayweather versus Roy Jones Jr. or, something like that.
A dream fight for Floyd Mayweather would be against Sweet Pea Whitaker. Him and Pernell Whitaker, they both have elite defense, and they have all the other intangibles. But when it comes to defensive fighters, I would like a dream matchup personally for me. I'd like to see Floyd Mayweather and Sweet Pea Whitaker.
What about here's mine. I'd like to see in their primes Mayweather with his defensive style and Triple G with his offensive style. Who wins that fight in a 15-round fight? I don't want that 12-round. I want a 15-round fight against those two guys to see who outlasts who. See if the defense can stand the big drama show punches to the body, hopefully, or if Mayweather just outlasts him and wears him down.
I mean if they met somewhere, I'm taking Golovkin only because I haven't seen Golovkin lose, and I have seen Mayweather get beat by Jose Luis Castillo. I thought Castillo won that fight. I'm pretty sure there's some other fights if we really wanted to delve deep into. We can find Mayweather being exploited, but
He's been in trouble a few times. Who was that one where he got the cheap shot on that knocked him out after the guy headbutted him?
the Victor Ortiz fight.
Victor Ortiz, yeah.
I don't. Floyd beats Victor Ortiz.
Yeah, but Victor, he had him on the ropes for a little bit on that round until he threw that stupid headbutt.
Call it what you want, but Floyd beats Victor Ortiz. Nobody thinks Victor Ortiz beats Floyd. Victor Ortiz can barely beat Andre Berto, and that 49th fight, Floyd just destroyed Andre Berto. So that's where I go with that. I do want to mention Henry Armstrong. If you want to make an argument that Henry Armstrong is the best fighter of all time, I'll take it. I can see Roy Jones fight Henry Armstrong, but for today, I'm going to say Roy Jones versus Sugar Ray Robinson.
What about Willie Pep?
Look, do we have to get into Willie Pep? Here's a story for you. Willie Pep, legend has it, won a round without throwing a single punch. I'm going to leave Willie Pep alone. I mean, his defensive skills, 241 wins. Henry Armstrong had 263 wins. Henry Armstrong had 3 belts at the same time. I don't think that's ever been done in history. Willie Pep also got beat up by Sandy Sadler. Sandy Sadler owns Willie Pep. Won 5 out of 6 fights.
Well, I'll tell you this, boys.
The shine of my forehead's going away. I'm gone.
I had a lot of fun on our 10th episode doing a conjoined pound-for-pound list. I think for our 28th episode, we have to do a pound-for-pound all-time list of our top 10 consortium picks, because I think that worked out well. I thought that was a lot of fun, and I'd be interested to see. I bet you that list would probably be about 19 names deep, but we'd have a lot of honorable mentions on that one.
Well, if we're gonna do episode 20, you may as well do top 20 of all time.
Well, that'd be who wants to tune into a 4-hour show?
Yeah, we're gonna have to part 1 and part 2 that, Rich.
Yeah, we might have 20 and 21. Right on, boys. All right, well, let's move it on. Thank you, Joe Sweat, for your question in Mexico. And thank you for answering the call out of Filthy Rich. We miss you, buddy. You are a friend of the show. Come on the show sometime. We'd love to have you on the show. We had your brother on last week. Good times. He doesn't know a lot about boxing. You do know a lot about boxing, but we'd love to see you back home eventually and hang out. And we miss you. All right, moving on. Let's move on to Judge Jimmy James, Fight of the Week. All right, Judge Jimmy James. Next week, you have to attempt to get your title back in the cruiserweight division for the Filthy Five next week. Do you have a cruiserweight fight, or do you have a different fight of the week that you want to do?
The cruiserweight fight, cruiserweight division. Yeah, that's about what I have. That's about how I feel about the cruiserweight division, especially since there's no more Usyk in that division.
Well, hey, talk up our show so they don't skip next week because you go, oh man, cruiserweight.
I'm just saying, man, it's not as exciting as the other ones. We'll still make a list for sure. I'm gonna tell you right now, if you want to watch a cruiserweight fight, Garcia versus Dorticos. That's going to be a fight that you want to watch. I think that was one of the Super Series fights.
Yes, it was.
Right? So that was those Super Series for the cruiserweights were actually, when Usyk was there, was actually a lot more interesting than I thought it was going to be. But Garcia versus Dorticos, that would be my recommended fight. Personally, right now, because we haven't had any fights in so long, my co-fight of the week, if that's what you want to call it, is Stevenson versus Caraballo. You need to watch actual fighting, man. Real fights, not past fights, not stuff where you might already know the outcome. We need to watch stuff live. You need to watch that fight. June 9th, Tuesday, start watching fights again and comment and join the consortium.
We may have to do a live show for one of these fights one night. So I think just a live stream and just see how well that does. We're definitely going to talk about that fight next week because it's on Tuesday and we film on Wednesday. So we'll be coming fresh off that fight. Probably a Shakur Stevenson win, but hey, say if Caraballo scores the upset, we may talk Brews and News for about 45 minutes about that fight, or our new segment, this fight or this week in fighting. We got to come up with a name of a new segment. Maybe we'll replace the 13th round and, we'll replace it with fights of the week when fighting starts again. You never know. We'll figure it out. All right, Filthy Rich, what do you think about that fight?
No, that's spot on. Like, I don't know what to say about this cruiserweight division. There's no knock on the cruiserweight division. If I had to pick a fight, yeah, it would be Dordikos and Murat Gassiev. Is it Murat Gassiev?
Yep.
I think Gassiev is Abel Sanchez guy. He was supposed to be like the next big thing. So that's a fight I would take. I know Marco Huck and Glavoski a few years ago had one of those fights that nobody knows these guys, but two probably B-level fighters who put on a show. Guys are getting knocked. They're getting knocked down. They're just swinging for the fences constantly. I don't know if it was at cruiserweight, though, so I didn't want to throw that out there. But Gassiev and Dordikos is the one to look out for. I think they're both going to be on our cruiserweight Filthy Five next week. But I am excited for boxing on Tuesday. So Judge Jimmy James, pardon the baseball expression, but hit it out of the park. Thank you.
Yeah, he hit it out of the park in his fight of the week. Too bad he didn't win the Filthy Five this week. But, he has to give that title back. And what the hell? That's a giant bug.
I'll get it back.
The viewers are the winners, basically.
The viewers are the winners. Well, you guys always both hit it out of the park, and it's a pleasure doing this show with you guys every week. All right, everybody, that's our show this week, episode 11. Thank you for joining us, and watch boxing this week. It comes back. We're back. We're finally back. We get to watch real fights, not fights that we've already been talking about that happened a year ago. We get to actually real fighters in the ring with gloves and referees and hopefully not Adelaide Bird. So, all right, for Judge Jimmy James, for Filthy Rich, I am Raider Live. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next week.